So in this problem, they tell you that there are an equal number of pennies and dimes, which is why over here they have X and X represented for pennies and dimes, because whatever amount of pennies you have, say it was 5 or 10, you'd have the same amount of dimes. To figure out how many quarters you have, you know that there is a total amount of pennies and dimes, and if you add that together, X plus X creates the 2X that's right here. And then if you look in what's given, they tell you that there's 42 coins in all. So if we take 42 and subtract the amount of pennies and the amount of dimes, you would end up with the amount of quarters. And so here we have 42 minus, they called penny X and they called dime X, so that turned out to be 42 minus 2X, and that's the amount of quarters that we have. So that goes 42 minus 2X right up there. And then the next thing that they're looking at is denomination in dollars, and that was 1 penny, 1 cent is 1/100th. Dime is 10 cents, and that looks like you got that one right already. And then 0.25 is your 25 cents. And over here it says value in dollars. What this is this is how much money there will be based on how many pennies you have. So you take your 0.1, so 1/100th times X, and that's how much value it is. So if you had, say, 10 pennies, it would be 10 times that 0.01, and that would give you 10 cents, 0.10. So that would be the value of that, whatever amount of pennies you had on that line. So down here, it looks like, again, you did this part right, where you have the 10 cents times X, and so that shows that you have 10 cents times however many dimes you have. So if there's 10 dimes, 0.10 times 10, that would give you $1, 1.0. And so this last line, it looks like where you made a mistake. I think it was because you didn't have the right expression over here, and that again comes from what we were talking through at the bottom. And so what the situation for the answer is you just take the 0.25 and you times it by the quantity of quarters. Now again, you don't actually know how many quarters you have, but you know that it's equal to the total amount of coins minus twice the amount of pennies or twice the amount of dimes, whichever one you actually know. And so then that will give you the total amount of quarters. So once you have that part set up correctly, the next step would be to figure out the number of pennies, and then it says that that's equal to the amount of dimes, and then we got to figure out the number of quarters. The next part is to actually figure out that piece. So to do that, what we want to do is clean this up a little bit. Let's find this information setup where we've got the actual value, because we do know the total amount of money that is in this whole problem is 387. So we know that if we know the amount of pennies, we would add that to the amount of dimes, and we would add that to the amount of quarters, and each of their values should add up to this 387. So we need to actually come up with an expression with that information. So we're going to take that down here and say I've got, I don't know how many pennies, but I do know that I would times that by 0.01. And then I would add that to how many dimes I have, and I don't know how many dimes I have, but I do know that the amount is X, and then I would times it by 0.1, and then I would add that to how many quarters I have, which I don't again know how much that is, but I know that the final value based on X would be 0.25 times, sorry about my 2 there, it's hard to write on this touchscreen, 0.25 times 42 minus 2X. And all of that added together will add up to the 3.87. So essentially we've just made a big, ugly algebra expression that we get to solve. Now the nice thing is I have a sweet little solving technique that makes everything better. I would go ahead and move the decimal place over 2 places on everything, so that way my numbers all get a little bit nicer here, and I don't have really any decimals. So if you move all the decimals over 2 places, you can, and legally, algebraically do that. And this first one will turn out just to be 1x, And this will turn out to be, I need to put in a 0 there, that'll be 10x's, so it'll be 1x plus 10x, and then plus 25 times this quantity 42 minus 2x equals 387. And so now you just use your algebra skills and solve it up. So we distribute our 25, and when I multiply 25 times the 42, I get 1050. And 25 times negative 2 will give me negative 50x. And that's supposed to be equal to the 387. And all this other stuff still comes down. I'll go ahead and combine those and make 11 x's. And then if I combine my 11 with my negative 50, I'm going to get negative 39x plus my 1050 equals the 387. So then I go ahead and subtract my 1080 from my 387, 1050, I'm sorry, from my 387. That's going to give me a negative 6. So that's negative 39x. It's going to give me my negative, oops, lost it, 663. And then to finish, I divide by 39, negative 39. That's going to give me a positive 17. So divide by negative 39. And so x is equal to 17. So what is x? Well, x is the amount of pennies. So this is equal to pennies. This is equal to dimes. And so then that is going to go up in this box right here. You put 17, and then the number of quarters, you've got to do a little step of figuring out, and just do your 42 minus 2x. So if you times 17 times 2, you're going to get that there was 34 other coins, and take that away from 42, and you get 8. So there should be 8 quarters. Alright, I hope that helps.